I love these videos where I can share items that you can reuse to solve everyday problems and at the same time save money. And the best part about this video is I'm sharing viewers' recommendations. I've made 2 videos recently on this topic and you all have shared down in the comments below some great ideas. There were so many ideas, but I've chosen about 16 of them that I want to talk about in this video. If you have additional ideas, let's keep the trend going. Put it down in the comments below. So if you haven't seen those 2 videos, it sometimes helps to have context when I'm talking about items in that video in reference to these comments. I'll put them down in the description box so you can check them out as well. Let's get started. These are all from you guys. I'm so excited. The first one I'm going to talk about is a better way to keep your wrapping paper from unraveling. In that video, I talked about a toilet paper roll. You can cut it lengthwise and keep it contained by putting the toilet paper roll around the wrapping paper. Well, I had 2 viewers give me a better idea for how to do that, because sometimes that toilet paper roll will stretch out over time. The first comment was from GATO Cat, and it says, instead of a toilet paper roll, the top of an old sock. And then another one that was similar said, I like the toilet paper roll for wrapping paper. I use baby socks to put on the ends of them. Since we have so many without a friend, that's a mystery that will never be solved. Love your ideas. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas. So I went, and my daughter has all these extra socks that she has outgrown. So you basically just take the sock and you'll cut the ribbed part or the crew neck part. Obviously it won't work if you have the lower no-show socks, but if you have any socks, even your own, if you don't have little ones, these she had outgrown, so I just cut the ribbed part off and I wrapped it around the paper. So much better. It's going to last for multiple rolls versus the toilet paper. So thank you so much for sharing this one. If you haven't thought about it, try this one out. The next one I want to share is regarding eyeglass cases. You know, those of us who have to have eyeglasses, we get these cases every time we get a new pair, and the hard ones especially. So this one came from KPMB9JX, and it says, hard eyeglass cases are excellent when used as containers for a mini first aid kit, a sewing kit, makeup kit, phone cord organizer, or even a mini art kit when traveling. I mean, think about it. These things can hold so many things and they're not going to get broken. They have little magnets, or they are, are the clamshell. So if you have any of these laying around, think of how you can possibly reuse them for one of the ideas that this viewer has shared. In another video, I mentioned how I use these hangers to clip recipes on, and then I will hang it on a cabinet. That keeps it right in front of my face so I can see it and keeps it out of the way of messes. Another viewer mentioned a way that they reuse these. Preparing for Mountain Life says, I use those hangers to hang out towels to dry after a bath. They also add that I also reuse bags or any bags without holes for cat litter cleanup. Great ideas. This hanger, absolutely. Take your towels, hang them on this, put them on your shower rod and let them dry. You can also use these hangers if you're air drying your clothes. Just have a little shelf in your laundry room, you can hang them up that way. So I love these little hangers, obviously many uses for them. The next one is what to do with empty paper towel rolls. And this one came from Sharon or Sharon. If I mispronounce your name, I greatly apologize. I really do appreciate you leaving all these fantastic ideas. This one says, I take an empty paper towel roll and grab a bunch of those plastic bags. You can take a bunch of those plastic bags, stuff them in the end of the roll, then start twisting them around until they're tight. You can use them or take them to the grocery store for recycling, etc. I was surprised at how many would fit in the paper towel roll. This came up because I mentioned plastic bags in a previous video, that you could take an empty tissue box and shove your extra plastic bags in that box. Keep it convenient, maybe put it in the laundry room if you're taking the dog out, help use those to pick up poop. Now, I also heard from you all that a lot of places have banned plastic bags, but perhaps there's something else you could utilize this idea for. But how great is that? A great, easy, quick, doesn't take up a lot of room. If you keep it in the car, if somebody has boots and they have stepped in mud or somebody's messed up their clothes, you've got those plastic bags. And as the viewer also stated, it's an easy way just to take when you do go take them and recycle them at your grocery store. The next one is a hack to prevent that little crease that forms on your dress pants when you put them on a hanger. And this one came from Karen Miller, and you'll see Karen has 2 tips in here. So we'll go ahead and read her other tip, just because the more the merrier. One of the best hints that I have enjoyed for years concerns soap pads, SOS pads. Cut the pads in quarters and wet the item to be clean, not the steel wool. Works great. But also, I use toilet paper rolls to keep that annoying crease of hanging clothes. Exactly same as the wrapping paper hack. Cut, put on hanger, tape closed, no creases. So I went and I did this to show you. Just take, so you see this little, obviously, hanger will produce a wrinkle or a line in your pants. So in this case, I just took a paper towel roll and a little piece of tape, and you can obviously use a couple of toilet paper rolls or the paper towel rolls, and you put your pants on, and then it won't create that crease because it's got that nice roll. Genius. One of the tips I talked about in a previous video was taking nail polish, the clear nail polish, maybe it's a little goopy or you don't prefer it anymore, and using this if you're getting ready to run out of the house and you've got a loose button. Put a little bit of the nail polish on the thread of the loose button, let it dry for just a bit, and then by the end of the day, the button will still be there when you come back and you can fix it. Well, Lynn left me a great comment, and it says if you put clear nail polish on your buttons when you first buy the shirt, jacket, pants, the buttons will never get loose. Also, another tip here, run aluminum foil through your shredder and the blades will stay sharp. In that video, I also mentioned how you could use aluminum foil. Use aluminum foil to cut your scissors, cut it with your scissors and it will sharpen those scissors. I have not tried the shredder with the aluminum foil, but certainly maybe it works in the same way. But I love the idea of just preventative maintenance. Use this when you get something, because sometimes the things we buy, the buttons are already really loose, or there's a large space between the button and the fabric for maybe how it goes through the hole. I know you know what I mean if you know what I mean. This is such a great idea. This next one is a great way to reuse ponytail ties that are maybe too loose, or maybe you've cut your hair. Like sometimes I cut mine into a shorter bob and I can't put it in a ponytail. I've got all these ponytails laying around. This one came from, this is one of the ones that has the number and the letter combination of the viewer, 3653CW. In my area, those plastic tabs on bakery items, etc., are being replaced with very flimsy twist ties that don't last. I use hair ties left from when my hair was longer. Since I don't use them for a ponytail anymore, I use those for charger cords, and I have several colors as they often come that way per pack. If you have family, you can color code per family member or color code for each device. They're very sturdy too. Thanks for your video. Thank you for your comment. So, I mean, that's a genius way to keep cords all combined. So I've got an extension cord here. You just take your little hair tie, wrap it all around. And the thing about some other comments that were left were, you know, use a rubber band. Use a rubber band to contain your cords or to contain your wrapping paper. The thing about rubber bands is they disintegrate over time. With a hair tie, this thing will keep doing this for a long time. We're going back to the socks in this one. Particularly, maybe you have a sock that has a hole in the end or it's a little worn in the heel. One of my viewers left a great idea. This one came from Renee. Renee says, I use mismatched socks. Cut the bottom part off, usually the part that gets damaged, sew up the bottom, and use it to protect my sunglasses in my glove compartment, I think is what it meant to say. I love it. That's such a great idea because, yeah, usually if you get a hole, it's in the toe area. You can just cut that off, sew it right there, and then you could just put your readers or your sunglasses in your sock, keep them in your purse, in your glove compartment, and they're less likely to get scratched. One of the things that can really get people is buying notepads and notebooks and beautiful stationery, and they'll have a ton of it and they don't use it. This next comment says, we don't need any of that. Love Changes Us adds, I save envelopes that come in the mail to use as notepaper. I never have to feel guilty about jotting down something or trying to work something out on paper because it's on something that normally gets thrown out anyway. It piles up, so I use it for grocery lists, daily tasks, and working out budget items before committing them to the budget book. I don't have to buy any notepads. That is such a great idea. All you got to do is use these leftover bill or junk mail envelopes. You can trim off the messed up part or the plastic part in the front. Maybe you have a beautiful box that you leave your scrap paper in, that way it's contained, and you can easily go and pick up the paper and you're not wasting notebook pads or beautiful pads. You can work out what you're thinking in your head or your budget here first. The next two are regarding the heel of a loaf of bread. Now, certainly you might love to eat the heel, or you might make croutons out of it, but I shared in one of those videos that you could take the heel if you don't like to eat it and put it in cookies or baked goods if they were a little overcooked or a little bit hard. And what will happen is the next day or half a day later, you will open it up and the cookies or the baked goods will be super moist. But the next one actually is a really creative idea for the heel, and this came from French Twist. I use bread ends to line the bottom of a baking pan when I make meatloaf. The bread absorbs the grease and makes it easy to remove the meatloaf from the pan. Cleanup is easier too. I am doing this next time because if you know, if you may have made meatloaf, that's exactly what happens. It gets stuck in there, it's hard to pull out, and you've got all that extra water or grease or whatever at the bottom that kind of makes it mushy. So using that tip. The next one, so many people said, so I just pulled one of the comments from one viewer that said it, but it was repeated many times. And this one is from Cecile Moore, and it says, thanks for the tip, and I wanted to share one more use for the heel of bread. Put it in your open package of brown sugar. It keeps it soft and moist. So oddly, yesterday I was making cookies and I was getting my brown sugar, and I noticed that it was extremely hard clumps. I will insert a picture of what it looked like. So I said, let's do this. So I got a piece of bread and I put it in the bag. Now, guess what? No more clumpy. It was overnight, no clumpy brown sugar. Genius. So it definitely works. I tried it. Repurposing items that you love and that are beautiful and that maybe get broken is such a great idea because you can still have that item near you. This is regarding dishes that need to be repurposed or items like that. This one came from Mrs. G 2500. I had a lovely Polish pottery butter dish. The lid got broken into too many pieces to glue back together. I still have the bottom and use it for a soap dish in the bathroom. Looks nice in a new capacity. I thought about that one when I shared in one of the videos this dish, which is a dish that got passed down to me, and it's where I keep everyday earrings. And I showed there how I will use buttons to keep the pair together. You can use random buttons, put your earrings together, and keep the pair together. But when you think about it, if this were to break, how can I repurpose this beautiful jar? And this comment just kind of reminds you that even if something is broken and maybe there's a couple of pieces to it, a lid and a base or something, what can you do with that other part of it? In this case, it was reused as a soap dish. So just a way to think about how we can use something, as the viewer said, in a new capacity. The next one is regarding your empty tissue boxes. I shared that these things can be used for many things, and Miss Dog Lover added to it. This one says, I use a tissue box for receipts when trying to figure out where I was spending money in a month. The next tissue box will be for bags in the trunk of my car in case one of my dogs have to go when we aren't home. Charlie gets excited going to the groomer. I get it completely. Thank you for sharing that. But that is a smart idea. Let's say you have to reconcile something like a credit card if you have one at the end of the month and you want to put all of those receipts in here. If you're like some people who still get paper statements, hey, they are out there that still get paper statements. So they will pull out all their receipts and reconcile them at the time. I'm not that person. I will go on and look at my accounts all the time to see what transactions are showing up. The next one is for if you ever lose these bread ties, the loose ones or the flimsy ones that go on your bread, what to do in case you don't have a clip, just a quick solution. And I had to try it out, so I'm going to show you exactly how it works. And I'm so glad for Crafty Dame, I believe that's how it said, who added this and shared it with us. If you lose your bread tag, hold the top of the bread bag, give it a few spins, and then fold the open end back over the bread. So I tried it. You spin it a few times, and then you take this top part and fold it over the rest of the bread. So hard to show in the camera, but basically you just take it, pull it over top, and it's secure. You don't have to worry about that darn twist tie that gets lost all the time. And we have another use for these little tabs, if you still get them on your foods, potato, bread, or bagels is where they come for us. In a previous video, I said these are great to write what the cord is. So let's say you have an Apple phone or a Samsung phone and you want to label the charger, you can write what it is. It's so-and-so's charger, and then you put this on the wire. Well, I had a user give another great tip for these things. This was user EC4MD9CC4C. Those little bread clips are also great to scrape the cooked food in pots. Works great for the rounded bottom. And if you know, sometimes you can find those scrubbers with the little edge that helps get food off, but sometimes it's not thin enough and you don't want to mess up your finger or put your finger in there and use it. That is genius. How obvious is that? But how had I not thought of that is to keep these and scrape the food off. It would work so great even on the stovetop. Definitely going to use that one. And the last one I'm going to share is regarding clothespins. This is one of my favorite ones. We've been using this one for years, and it was reiterated by Olivia's Cruelty-Free Beauty, who added, I use clothespins less than $1.50 for 50 instead of the chip clips, more than $1 each depending upon the size. Yes, because either way you spin it, these little clothespins and their little, metal part and chip clips with their little metal part are eventually going to break down. These are way less expensive. You can get a huge pack of them for very inexpensive. We use them for chip clips, for crackers. If you open a bag of crackers and you want to put this on here, cookies, and keep the plastic from opening up to the air as much, or for freezer items, if you have a frozen bag of French fries, close it up, put a couple of clips on there. These things are amazing. If this video helped you think of any great ideas that you can share with us, please put them in the comments. And I want to say again, thank you to everybody who shared their ideas. I love reading your comments. Put them down below, even stop in just to say hey. If you enjoyed this video, click on the thumbs up button. Also click the subscribe button so you can come back for more videos.